If, while listening to this story, you feel your heart touched even for a moment, then write in the comments just once, "The prayer of the poor never goes unanswered." Because today's story isn't just about one man, but about every person who fights the battles of life between hunger and poverty. A long, long time ago, there was a city where piles of garbage were scattered on every street. And in that city lived a poor man named Hamdan. Hamdan was so poor that he didn't even have a proper house to call his own. Every morning, he would wake up and his first stop would be the garbage dump. If he was lucky enough to find a few grains of barley, that would be his meal for the day. And if he found nothing, he would simply go to sleep hungry. The people of the city looked at him with suspicion, and many times they refused to even give him alms. But Hamdan never complained. He would just look up at the sky and softly say, "Oh God, if you wish to keep me hungry, then I will remain patient." One day, as he was searching through the garbage, he saw something shining. He bent down to look closer. It was a tempesa coin. A small smile spread across his face. He carefully tied the coin into a corner of his torn clothes, thinking to himself, "At least today, I won't have to sleep hungry." He went back to his small shelter, drank some water, put a little bit of tobacco in his mouth, and lay down on his mat. But little did he know, destiny was just beginning to play its game. The very next morning, when he returned to the garbage dump, he saw a man carrying a large wicker basket. Hamdan called out, "Brother, wait a moment. What's inside that basket?" The man, whose name was Mahmoud, walked towards him with the basket. But 3 wealthy men standing nearby started laughing mockingly. They said, "This poor man doesn't have a single penny to his name. What could he possibly buy?" Their words stung Hamdan's heart, but he remained silent. Mahmoud replied, "I've come to sell my goods. I will go to whoever calls me." The rich men laughed even louder. One of them taunted, "Let's see what this beggar is going to buy." But Hamdan paid no attention to their cruel words. He looked at Mahmoud and asked directly, "How much for this gazelle?" All 3 rich men burst into laughter. "It costs 25 paisa." "Why are you even asking when you only have 10? They jeered. But Hamdan calmly took the tempesa coin from his pocket and said, "I will buy the gazelle, but for 10 paisa." They started making fun of him, and one of the men even slapped him across the cheek. All Hamdan said was, "What wrong have I done to you?" Then he handed over the 10 paisa, bought a small gazelle, and returned home. That night, something incredible happened. The gazelle suddenly started to speak. "Master," it said, "I want to be your friend, but I need one promise from you." Hamdan was startled, but he managed to ask, "Tell me, what promise?" The gazelle explained, "I will go out every day to find food for myself, but I will return to you in the evening. If I stay here with you, I will die of hunger." With tears in his eyes, Hamdan agreed, and from that moment, a friendship began that was destined to change fate itself. But the story wasn't over yet. In fact, the real game was just about to begin. If you want to know what happens next, make sure to follow for part 2. Thank you for watching.
If listening to this story fills your heart with a mix of fear and hope, then write in the comments, "There is great power in the prayer of the poor." Because now the story is about to take an even deeper turn. The night had grown very late. Hamdan lay on his mat inside his humble home, and his new friend, the gazelle, sat peacefully beside him. Outside, the wind whispered softly, as if telling a story of its own, a story yet unknown. A strange feeling settled in Hamdan's heart, a mix of fear and hope. He was afraid, terrified that his beloved gazelle might not survive, that it might die of hunger. But he also felt a glimmer of hope, a feeling that maybe, just maybe, his life was on the verge of a great change. The next morning, the gazelle, true to his word, prepared to leave. Hamdan followed him, his heart heavy with worry. But the gazelle was incredibly fast. Within moments, it darted off and disappeared from Hamdan's sight, a blur against the horizon. Tears welled up in Hamdan's eyes. He looked up towards the sky, his hands raised in prayer, and whispered, "Oh, my Lord, please protect my friend." Days began to pass in a steady rhythm. Every morning, the gazelle would venture out, and every evening, it would return. It would then recount its adventures to Hamdan, describing the fascinating places it had roamed all day. But soon, the local people started to get suspicious. They would whisper amongst themselves, "This man must be some kind of magician. How else could a wild gazelle return to him every single day?" Hamdan, however, paid them no mind. His only concern was for the well-being of his friend. On the 6th day, the gazelle ventured deep into a dense forest. As it navigated through the thorny bushes, it saw something glittering in the dirt. Its curiosity piqued, the gazelle started to dig at the soil with its hooves. Suddenly, a brilliant light burst forth, dazzling its eyes. There, buried in the earth, was a massive, flawless diamond. The gazelle was stunned. "Oh, my lord," it thought. "This is a treasure beyond imagination." A thought immediately crossed the gazelle's mind. If it gave this priceless diamond to Hamdan, the villagers might harm him, or even worse. After all, how could a poor man like Hamdan ever possess such a precious gem? So the wise gazelle made a decision. It would present this diamond to someone powerful. Someone rich and good-hearted who could help its master, taking the huge diamond carefully in its mouth. The gazelle set off, running towards the city. It traveled for many days and nights, a small, determined creature on a grand mission. Finally, it arrived at the magnificent city ruled by the Sultan. The people in the streets were astounded. They stopped and stared, completely shocked to see a gazelle running through their city with a sparkling diamond in its mouth. The gazelle didn't stop until it reached the grand gates of the Sultan's palace. It stood there and called out in a clear, loud voice, "Is there anyone here who is the ruler of this land?" The palace guards and servants rushed outside, amazed to hear a gazelle speak. They cautiously led the creature inside, straight to the Sultan's throne room. The Sultan looked down from his throne, his eyes wide with surprise. "What is it that you want?" he asked the small animal. The gazelle walked forward and gently placed the diamond at the Sultan's feet. Then it spoke with great dignity. "My master is a poor man, but I have come on his behalf to ask for your daughter's hand in marriage." The Sultan was completely taken aback. He looked from the magnificent diamond to the talking gazelle and said, "You are but a gazelle, yet you speak with such wisdom and courage." Intrigued and impressed, the Sultan accepted the proposal, with its mission accomplished. The gazelle joyfully ran all the way back to Hamdan. When Hamdan saw his friend return, he burst into tears of relief and hugged the gazelle tightly. "I thought you had left me forever," he cried. The gazelle looked up at him with loyal eyes and said, "I made you a promise, master. I will never leave you." But this was not the end of their story. In fact, their journey was far from over. The greatest test of their bond was yet to come, and the cruel, suspicious people were still a part of their world.
If you are still listening to this story, then for a moment place your hand on your heart and think, does justice always come late? If you believe that justice surely happens, then write in the comment, "Justice comes late, but it surely comes." Because now the story is reaching its final and most emotional turn. It was morning time. The sunlight was falling on the streets of Basra city. Hamdan was sitting outside his house, and his friend the gazelle was standing beside him. But the rich people of the city and the men of the vizier were still looking at both of them with suspicion when Vizier Murad Khan learned that the gazelle had taken the diamond to the Sultan. His face turned red with anger. He sent his spies, "Capture that beggar and his gazelle and bring them to me." The spies reached Hamdan's house. They knocked loudly on the door. Hamdan came outside. There was no fear in his eyes, only truth. The spies said, "Give us the gazelle you have," Hamdan said. "He is my friend, not a possession." The spies laughed and they arrested Hamdan and took him to the palace. Inside the palace, Vizier Murad Khan was sitting. His voice was cold. "So you are the man who has the magical gazelle?" Hamdan said, "I have no magic, I only have prayer." The vizier angrily said, "Where is the diamond?" Hamdan gave a direct answer, "With the Sultan." The vizier became furious. He ordered Hamdan to be imprisoned. Night came. Hamdan was sitting near the wall of the jail. There were no tears in his eyes, only waiting for his friend. That same night, the gazelle came outside the jail and quietly said, "Master, do not be afraid, justice is about to happen." Next morning the Sultan himself came to the palace. He was accompanied by his soldiers. He asked the vizier, "Why did you arrest a poor man?" The vizier got nervous, but he tried to lie. Then the gazelle came forward and told the truth, how he had brought the diamond and how pure Hamdan's heart was. The Sultan angrily said, "Those who do injustice have no place in my court." The vizier was imprisoned. Hamdan was set free, and the sultan decided to arrange his daughter's marriage with Hamdan's family. The wedding day came. The whole city was filled with happiness. Hamdan's mother was crying, but they were tears of happiness. She kept saying, "My son's prayers have been accepted." After the wedding, Hamdan and the gazelle sat near the river. Hamdan said, "You are not just a gazelle for me, you are my destiny." The gazelle smiled and said, "Master, truth of the poor never loses." And from that day Hamdan's life changed, but he never forgot the garbage dump because he knew his real strength was in his hard work and prayers.